Hello, thanks everyone. Yeah, so like my introduction said, I'm Teo. I just recently moved back to Birmingham and I'm on the School of Code boot camp. I don't know if you know it, it's over at Digbeth and the Custard Factory. But essentially it's a 16-week tech coding boot camp for people with no knowledge of coding. So I'm 6 weeks in. So it's not going to be a technical presentation at all. It's going to be more like thematic or like semantic, as coders like to say. So before I start, I just wanted to find out a little bit about you guys as an audience, because I think I know the kinds of things that you're into, but it's not good to assume. So if everyone could put their hands up in the air. Everyone, come on. And then put your hands down if you've never played a role-playing game. Okay, yeah, assumptions are correct so far. Put your hands down if you've never played a role-playing game with dialogue trees, if you know what they are. And now put your hands down if you've never played Disco Elysium. Okay, good, all right, I mean, pretty much perfect. I'll try and fly through the first bit, because that's going to be a little bit more basic, so I'll try and fly through that and get to the interesting stuff. So what is Disco Elysium? Disco Elysium is a role-playing computer game set in a fictional universe. It's a modern-day universe, kind of elements of steampunk, but yeah, essentially it's kind of our world as we know it, but in a fictional universe. It's a top-down isometric perspective, so you're controlling your character on like a painting, or I mean, if you guys have played Baldur's Gate or anything like that, you'll know what I mean. The entire game happens through dialogue trees, so there's no combat in a traditional sense. Everything happens through text, either speech that the people are saying in the game, or descriptions of what's happening, and then options of how to interact with it. Which is what a dialogue tree is. So in traditional role-playing games or typical role-playing games, you're given statistics which you can increase throughout the game, or you assign at the beginning, and that kind of determines the sort of character you are, and therefore how you are able to, the options that you're given in the dialogue trees during the game. So to illustrate this, and this will be way too obvious for you guys, and also sketchy, I made up a little dialogue tree for myself. So that's me, Teo, at the top, with strength 10, you can see I've been working out, intelligence 2, agility 2. And a games developer has said to me, so Teo, given your lack of programming experience and track record of changing career every couple of years, why should we hire you? And I've got 3 options, and one of them, intimidate, raise his fist, do you really need to answer that, has been given to me by my strength. And usually in your standard role-playing game, that will be guaranteed to succeed. So because I've put a load of points in strength, that means that I'm able to intimidate this person. Similarly, if I had my points in intelligence, I might be able to persuade them. My friend, whatever do you mean? You already hired me last week. So I've just outsmarted them and got myself a job. And then, yeah, the same thing for agility. This is where this example really started to fall down. Maybe I evade them, step into the shadows. You can't hire me if you can't see me. So, yeah, that's my experience generally of the relationship between stats and games and dialogue trees. Like, I'm being a bit unfair. Some role-playing games do it really well, but it's usually variations on that sort of thing. So, how does it work in Disco Elysium? So this is the stat page for Disco. It's pretty overwhelming. Like the first time you see this, you're going to be looking at the stats, trying to work out what they are. Maybe some of them you'll like kind of think you'll understand, like endurance. Maybe that's how much damage you can take, or maybe perception, how good you are at spotting things. So there are some familiar stats on there, but there are other ones on there like Inland Empire, which is like, what does that mean? And what else have we got on there? I mean, Savoy Fair, Savoy Fair, that's French. I don't speak French, I don't know what that means. Savoir Fair, thank you. So yeah, it's pretty overwhelming, but like I said, the game only works, or you only play it through dialogue trees. So you can imagine how having 24 attributes like this, within 4 different like subspheres, I guess, how they combine to to make really interesting decisions for the player. And they don't only dictate the options you're given, and you might not always succeed. There's always a chance to fail in the game. But each of these attributes is also their own voice in your head as the player. So you can kind of imagine this as like a simulation of your character's mind and all of the different voices that they have swaying them one way or the other. So yeah, this is overwhelming, so I want to focus down just on the psyche set of attributes, because I think that is the most interesting one, or at least the most novel one that you wouldn't see in other games. So yeah, here they are, the psyche. The first thing that strikes me about this is like having a statistic like empathy in a computer game, I think is really cool. Like you wouldn't necessarily expect a role-playing game to have something like that in there. So I'll just go through these one by one because it's interesting and it might give you an idea of the kinds of things that the game is trying to do with all these attributes. So yeah, volition is essentially a representation of your mental health in the game, how much you can take. Say you're having a conversation with someone in the game and they make fun of you. If you're not resilient enough, then you might literally take mental health damage, but if your volition is high enough, then you might be able to stand it. Or perhaps if you tried to do something in the game which you felt like you really should succeed at, but then end up failing, then it might damage your volition because you felt like you should have done it and you didn't. Inland Empire, I won't go into too much because it's a bit spoilery, but it's essentially how much you believe things that aren't true. So like on a good day, it would be everything's working out, so you believe in destiny because everything's working out for you. But like I guess the flip side of that is maybe you believe in horoscopes anyway, even though you know they're absolute rubbish. Empathy, hopefully I don't need to explain to anyone, but if anyone is struggling with that, then I used to be a social worker, so just come and see me afterwards and we'll have a chat. Authority is how much you want to dominate other people or how good you are at dominating other people. Esprit de corps, who was the French speaker? Well, esprit de corps, I'm probably not saying it right, but that's how much, I forgot to say, you play a police officer in the game, a kind of police officer. So that's how much you identify with being a cop. So perhaps your partner in the game wants to do like a good cop, bad cop routine. If that isn't high, then you just won't be able to succeed in that. But if you are, then maybe you can. And suggestion, again, that's another pretty self-explanatory one. So, I mean, you can see there like all the different possibilities that gives for interaction with things and people in the game. When you're simulating and measuring someone's mental processes in this sort of detail, it just gives you a lot of options. And so to finish, I thought I'd hone in even further on two of these, which are empathy and authority. So if you put a lot of points in your psyche, like subgrouping, then both of these are going to be pretty high, but the things that they want to do are completely different. So if you meet someone in the game who's maybe in a really difficult situation, then your empathy is literally going to tell you in game, I think we should, like this person's in a really bad way, I think we should help them. But your authority, on the other hand, is going to say, this person's in a really bad way, this is an opportunity to exploit them. And they'll both talk to you as a player, or come up in the text box giving you this advice, and then it's down to you as a player which way you want to roleplay, which I think is really cool. Especially as if you've got high in one, then you might have high in the other, not in this particular on-screen example. So yeah, those are just a few ways in which the stats in the game work towards creating really interesting options for the player. And that's it. I hope that was short enough. Thank you very much.